Speaking of earthquakes, we had an unusual amount of seismic activity yesterday. Unusual amount. Yeah, there was one near Missoula, which is pretty big. So you guys will be safe and we will, yeah, okay. So, you know, that means only one thing. What does that mean? Yellowstone's about ready to go. It's the whole thing, people. It's already, it's coming. It's gonna happen. They've been hiding that from us. It's gonna blow. Okay. Well, there's actually a conspiracy theory that they say they're hiding the fact that the volcano, the whole Yellowstone Park is gonna explode. One in what? Yeah, so you're telling me there's a chance, huh? All right, so let's go ahead then and look at, let's get away from volcanoes blowing us up, because let's get to the positive good theory of slavery. So I triggered it. The plates shift because I better be careful. Nah, let's roll the die. You have Newton. Oh, you're Isaac Newton. Okay, so, wait. Ah! No gravity. Okay. I have more too. Including the psychologist, or no, the yeah. I think, no, I'm not Freud. Oh no, I mean the philosopher, I can't. Okay. Students gave me those. Also have a shirtless Putin. Oh. That's all I'm gonna say. Finger puppet of Putin. Yeah, I will bring that out someday. All right, so let's go. This is an amazing document. Now, before we read a document, remember the first thing we gotta do is read who wrote it. So we have a pretty good idea. If it's Calhoun, it's going to be something defending slavery. You look at the date. Now, you might not know the exact date. Let's say we get this document and let's say May 5th or something. What's that? The AP exam. But you know, 1840s, you go back and think about, you know, what things are going on. We know about this manifest destiny. You might not know the exact date, but you remember Texas. And trust me, we'll go back and review. I reward you immensely for reviewing. A hearty handshake for Mr. Mahal. And come in and shake all of your hands. Not me. Really. No, I do have a review packet, but I give you a lot of things. But it's and I do review sessions outside of class. But if I forgot what I was going to say.
We get something.
Oh, but Mr. Mahalich's coming. Oh, back to this. 1840, you know about slavery, you know about Texas, you know about sectionalism coming up. So you start thinking about those issues. Now when you read this should all been pretty fresh on your mind. You knew it. But you have to think about the historical events going on. You have to think background. Remember that word we used for the first paragraph of an essay. Put it in context. If I would have given you this document and let's say August, here, read this and tell me what happened. You would have been, stop. You're probably going to, you know, figure it out some, but you didn't have context yet. When you read a document, put it in context, and then try to figure out what he's trying to achieve with this. Well, we know what he's trying to achieve. Justify slavery. And why did he think that? What has been his goal pretty much since the 1820s? To do what? We want to protect, we know we have to protect slavery, but do what? Unify the South. Unify the South. Find that issue that's Texas. No, of course you're not going to remember every issue, but you start thinking about it, that brings back memories. Trust me, when it's in there, it's there. I know. Back in the deep, dark, and sometimes scary recesses of your mind, it gets lost in there. But try to bring it out, think about it. And then when you read the document, it makes sense. Because you notice he never once mentioned slavery, really. What does he call slavery? What does he call it? Yeah. A relations, implying what? Mutual benefit. It's a relationship. We're both benefiting. Is that what you said too?
I just said it louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. And relationships, yes. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't hear as well on my left either. I'm making excuses. No, mutual benefit, right? And what else? If it's a relationship, that's what it always has been. He doesn't call it slavery. And so let's look at these documents. First paragraph. Okay, so he goes to think about Britain, get rid of slavery. They can do whatever they want. So that's the first part about this. But let's look at the second paragraph. This is the key element here. It starts getting into what he's talking about here. So first off, according to him, in that second paragraph, who decides whether or not that ancient relationship will exist in the United States? Who decides? He says it right. Who? States. He calls it the member of each of the union, that's the states. The states will decide. So, some decided no, or starting to decide no, some yes. Not some country and not the federal government. Is he telling the truth? Not really. Sure, once the state, before the Civil War, yeah, the state basically had that power. 14th Amendment does not exist. The Civil War had not been fought. But any new territories, the federal government lays out the rules. And if the federal government says, for example, there'll be no slave codes in what's going to be Nebraska, no one's going to bring their slaves into Nebraska territory. And therefore, they probably won't be a slave state. Does that make sense? So he's being disingenuous here. The federal government has huge impact. But he's saying that to try to let, hey, the states decide. He's laying out a principle that's going to come in the 1850s. They're going to call this states' rights. What did states' rights mean? Defend slavery. Obviously, we'll come back to this, but that's a key element. He's laying that out. Does it mean that the states have that right? Only when it matters about slavery. All right, so that's the first thing. So let's get to this. This is where we start getting to the meat of it in the third paragraph. So then he starts talking about slavery. First off, what happens to areas that got rid of the ancient relationship? Everybody look at that third paragraph. What happens? The areas that got rid of, yes. It becomes worse. And what did they sink into? Did you catch that? What's pauperism? So they go right to poverty. They can't care for themselves, implying what about the slaves? Yeah, they can't care for themselves. They don't know how to do it. Oh, sure, they could do work, but unless someone's there to tell them to do it, they will starve to death. Or what's vice? And by the way, vice is a legal term. What's vice? Yeah, it's in fiction. It could be.
It's
But we're talking now a legal term. On the right track. But if it's a criminal term, what that means is who has decided that that behavior is self-destructive, aka immoral? Yeah, the government. And so they made it a crime. Vice is a crime. That's where you see the bunco squad. We saw that yesterday, the bunco squad. So what is vice? Gambling, drugs, alcohol addiction. It could be prostitution. At that time, they would have said rape. I don't know, rape is an intensely violent crime, but that's what they would have said then. And so what happens? If you free slaves and they don't have the control of their master, what would they do? Starve to death, or because they can't control themselves. They have no power. They're unable to control themselves. They're like little children. Violent little children. So you need the master to control that. Yes.
But in paragraph 5, it talks about how the race has ever attained so high in elevation in morals, intelligence, or stability.
Where? Now, what we talked about there, higher levels of vice and pauperism in areas that got rid of the relationship.
It's kind of better high.
In areas that kept it, yeah. That's what it's saying. Does he have proof of this? Yes.
Increase of vice, therefore no slavery for vices.
And that's part of it, yes. If he was actually figuring out the numbers. But is he actually doing that? Is he figuring out, does he have proof of this on the paper? Because you're right about that. That is a logical fallacy that people make all the time. But it's even more than that. Does he have proof? No. Does he have proof that he writes down? Look at the next paragraph. What do they do? You catch it? What? So what did he count? What did they count? What kind of people did they count to prove? Deaf, dumb, blind, idiots, and insane. How do you count an idiot? One at a time. Very good answer. Let's have a conversation. Oh, you're an idiot. How do you blind? What's dumb mean? Yeah, can't talk. That's what dumb means. So what did they, was there somebody going around counting the number of idiots? And by the way, what does deaf or blindness have to do with this? So the check, yeah, 1, 2, 3. And look at the numbers in areas that got rid of the ancient relationship. 1 out of 96 are deaf, dumb, blind, idiots, and insane. But look at the numbers in areas that kept the ancient relationship. Only 1 out of 672. Can you argue with that? That's math. Where did he get these numbers? They came from somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where you kind of pull them out of something. But that's the point. Do you get my? He made it up, right? Why do that? Anybody really looks at him. He's lying. If you want to defend slavery, just give me something. He's giving you something. Right? Does that make sense? Giving you something. And there's something else too. You know, gives you something, you can say it's numbers, say it's facts. He lies all the time. If you have people who you consider to be authority figures lying all the time, will you ever know the truth? Well, that's actually an element. You go to areas of totalitarian, you go to totalitarian states, you go to, let me throw a place out, Hungary or Russia or China. They lie all the time. So you never know the truth. And if you never know the truth, then just tell me what to do. I want to feel safe. If you don't know the truth, you never feel safe. You never feel secure. And so here's an authoritarian like Calhoun saying, safety. And what's safety? You know your place. Slaves. Or whites all the way up. I love those facts. Aren't those great? Yes. Oh, sure. They could get work out. And they might try to sell them as a little kid to make money. But yeah, they get work out of them. But it would be pretty the most horrific work, and you can't communicate and speak, yeah. More horrific than the other already horrific work on them. Okay, so we have mathematical facts. So let's look at the next one. Okay, next one, Seth already brought up, talking about how they have never reached higher position than what happened in areas that have slavery. The highest level, what do you say there? Attained the so high of elevation in morals, intelligence, and civilization. Never. That's the bottom right paragraph. Is that the 4th? Yeah, or the 5th. 5th paragraph. Never have they reached this in areas that kept the ancient relationship. The natural thing. Never. Can you argue with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they sound like they are. Not even, but they act like they are, but yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard, especially when they sound like an authority figure, don't they? And so with that, then let's look at the last paragraph. This is a pretty ingenious way to defend slavery, isn't it? It's kind of amazing. So he's gone through this whole process that who is actually benefiting from slavery? It's not just the people who have the slave labor. Aren't the slaves benefiting? There's not nearly as many idiots now. We have mathematical proof. That'd be another good one if someone's walking down the hall on the street about counting idiots. But in areas where they change the relationship, he's already said it's bad. But what's going to happen in areas they change the relationship where the numbers between the different races, by the way, they're using the term races now for different color of skin. That's a relatively new term. Racism is going to come out as a term in the very beginning of the 20s. This is all being created. What happens if the races are relatively equal? Yeah. There's going to be conflict because it's not natural. And if there's going to be a conflict between the two races, it is natural for the races. One race is on top and one race is on the bottom. And what might happen? These slaves might become what? The masters. That is unnatural. And so what you're potentially condemning, if there's violence, that's that pure slave rebellion. And it might reverse, which is unnatural. If we get rid of that relationship, you're condemning us to violence, strife, and maybe whites as slaves. Which, by the way, remember, racialized slavery is a new thing in history. There's been slaves for almost ever, but it's new. What was the rebellion? Where you start seeing the slave codes and the fornication fornication laws, way back in 1676. Bacon's Rebellion. That's not that long ago. I remember those heady days of 1676 clearly. One more thing. What state had more slaves than free people? South Carolina. Gee, I wonder what state Calhoun is from. And what state would secede first? Anybody want to guess? I'll tell you this. What state seceded second? Anybody want to guess? What state had the second highest percentage of slaves? No, Mississippi. It's always fascinating when people will say that slavery was not the real issue about the Civil War. That would have very much surprised the people who seceded. Okay, after the war, they would have said, no, we did it because we love freedom, but before the war. So we just laid out the positive good theory of slavery. They're not doing it purely because they're getting labor. Hey, they're not going to lie. They're getting labor. They're taking cotton. Okay. But what's the real reason? It's natural. And what are they doing for the slaves? Educating, civilizing, protecting them, because if they're on their own, they'll starve to death, won't they? That's what he said. Or they'll become deaf, dumb, blind, idiots, or insane. I want to also know how you check off an insane person. Insane. Right? Yes.
I think slavery is bad.
Yep, you're insane. And an idiot, deaf, dumb, and blind. No, you get that point? That's where they get that. And so it's all made up. But it's very clever. We're not enslaving because of money. We're enslaving because we're civilized. It's natural. And therefore, one more thing. It's a good system because if we don't have it, what's going to happen? Chaos, and who might be the slaves next? And so, what system are we going to use? He will eventually adopt this into the positive good theory of slavery. You notice the next document on them. You notice it's 4 years later. Positive good theory. Who loved the positive good theory? Justify what they're doing. They can sleep at night. I'm not a bad person. I'm enslaving them. I'm enslaving them to civilize them. Oh, sure. These are people who don't know their own, they don't have morals, they'll turn to vice or pauperism. So sometimes you got to show some, tough love. Just a little whipping and beating. Maybe cut off a finger or two. So they're children. That's tough love. Yeah, that's slavery, but they get life for civil. So that's what Calhoun brought up. Isn't that amazing? Read this document. You notice, did you ever really see mention of Texas only obliquely when it talked about Britain in the beginning? This is the Pakenham letter about Texas. Kind of amazing, isn't it? We will come back to the positive good theory. We have to get to, did we quit running the election of 1844? Yeah, the kind of big election. We got a war coming up, people. Oh, so I'm reading this and it's going along with me translating it. It's a little creepy. It's a little, I said creepy, not preview. There we go. And then it says, it's a little, I said creepy, not creepy view. Yeah. Our machine overlords do what they want now. Did we get to this? James Knox Polk. And so we went through the whole thing about Texas, positive good theory. Who was the Secretary of State who blew up? Abel Upshur. So Upshur, and then Upshur's goal was to do what? Make Texas a wedge issue to do what? And do what for the South? And therefore, Tyler's thinking maybe I could be that northern presidential candidate. That mentioned George Dallas. Yeah, that's going to be the vice presidential running mate. All right. Gee, I wonder what's going to be named after him. Georgetown. And so with that, and his slogan was, well, he should add, he avoided Texas completely and just focused on manifest destiny with the great slogan, 54-40, our fight. So what did that mean? Well, solve Oregon, get all manifest destiny by getting Oregon. We're going to get California. California already had this reputation of being just like a wonderland. And California is pretty amazing because of the different climates, the growing season, etc. We haven't got to the gold yet. They didn't either. And then, but focus on this. Yeah. Yeah. It still is. California has that reputation. And it really is, California, because it's so big and the varying climates along the coast, it's kind of an amazing place. I don't mean amazing as good or bad. You can decide on, but it is pretty amazing. California, you go from Northern California to Southern California. It's really cool. But 54-40, that's the latitude of Oregon country. And so he's saying we'll fight for the whole thing. So it includes part of British Columbia and Alberta. The whole thing. He's taken advantage of the anger against Britain. And did they really want war with Britain? Of course not. But they're just using this as a slogan. Just, yeah, and then avoiding Texas. So the Whigs, let's nominate Henry Clay. Clay, third time. Clay is like, it's my turn. It's my turn. I'm going to be president. Take my ball and go home. All the pictures of Clay have this very wry smile when they started photography in the 1840s. Always has that little. Most of the time, they try to be not only serious in pictures, but also not shake. So they're like, he.
It looks like someone ripped off his lower face and put it back on with a sewing machine.
Wow. I don't see that, but so he's a monster. Once again, the American system. Once again, that American system. Tariffs, bank, internal improvements. But here's the problem. What about Texas? What about Oregon? He couldn't decide. So he kind of said, we'll ask Mexico. Well, Mexico's not going to give it up. Oregon, he was wishy-washy. By trying to avoid the issues, he angered everybody. His running mate would be part of the New York Frelinghuysen family. One of the wealthiest families in all New York. That's from old Dutch ancestry who had plantations along the Hudson. Huh? And one more thing about the Frelinghuysen's. They were neighbors to another Dutch plantation family you might have heard of called the Roosevelts. And I know what a lot of you're thinking. I want to show my support for Clay Frelinghuysen. Who does, right? All of you? So you can all quickly make this wonderful costume.
Did they actually?
As far as I know, there was more than one of these. And I know what you're thinking. Where can we find one? Oh my goodness, right here. Yes, Clay Frelinghuysen.
Where did you get that?
I bought it back in 1844. I've grown since then, but life is tough. Okay, so the person who made this grabbed an old sweatpants and stuff that they painted and stained it. So yes, no, it's stained, but pretty good, huh? I have another one too. I have two. So I see that though. I think it's really funny. My first thought is the University of Indiana basketball team's warm-ups. Who else was thinking that? Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know why I know that. Okay, so moving on. But there's a third party. Remember, third parties don't do well. Winner take all. But a Liberty Party, which was a 100% abolitionist party, no slavery at all. Now, they're going to take away votes from somebody here, probably equally from both the Whigs and the Democrats. What was the term for no slavery in the territories? Yeah, free soil. Well, abolitionists said no slavery even in southern states. There were very few abolitionists. Very few. Virtually none anyplace else except for just a small little pocket here and here. Probably no more than 2 or 3% of the entire northern population. But to the south, they were terrified. There were very few abolitionists. But they might spoil the election. They might take away votes and encourage free soil Democrats or anti-slavery Whigs, they were called conscience Whigs, to join them. So this election was one of the more important and really talked about the issue, even though they never mentioned it, Texas, Texas, Texas. Falling into the Salt River, if you drown in the Salt River, was a term meaning your ambitions have died. You didn't make it, like you weren't elected, your political ambitions fell apart. So there's all these cartoons, a lot with the Salt River. So here, I should add one more thing. 1840s, hot air balloons were like the rage. You can see hot air balloons in all these pictures, riding hot air balloons. I mean, that's pretty scary technology, isn't it? But Clay and Frelinghuysen popping Polk and Dallas's hot air balloon, and they drown in the Salt River. And who's already in the Salt River? That's Jackson, and that's Van Buren. The Salt River. Here's the opposite. Trying to cross the Salt River, here's Polk and Dallas, and the Whigs are trying to stop them. See the complicated pulley system. That's a very complex cartoon. You need a lot of engineering skills. But here's Clay and Frelinghuysen, Webster trying to stop them from drowning in that river. Here's another one, Clay and Frelinghuysen going across the river, and here's Polk and Dallas drowning, Jackson, Van Buren. But here's my favorite cartoon. It appears as though Polk is impaled through the neck of a beast. And it's hard to read it, but that's what the beast said, so it's Texas. and Polk implying annexing Texas. They nope, this won't carry me to the president. I won't carry to the presidential chair. But Polk saying, I'm stuck. Impaled in the neck. Impaled in the neck. But that face, I can't help but to see one person. Anyone see it? Doesn't it vaguely look like Abraham Lincoln of the 1860s? When no one would have known who Abraham Lincoln was in 1844. But did anyone else see Abraham Lincoln kind of like, oh, it's kinda. Just the face. So, Polk would win. But the reason I put a question mark is Clay would immediately say Liberty Party votes took away his support in upstate New York and Pennsylvania, and that's why Polk got those. That's not clear if that happened, but this is going to be one of then for any third party candidates. You take away votes from the other candidates. We have a winner take all system. Okay, that's why we're stuck with two parties. Just that's the system. And it's a national victory.
So South Carolina was like a really.
Yeah.
His views, he was mostly like American system. Right?
Yeah.
So did he ever really address issue of slavery?
Not really.
So let's,
But they voted for Polk.
yeah,
Yeah, they voted for Polk. They assumed Polk was from Tennessee, so more pro-slave. And isn't that ironic? Tennessee, Polk's home state went for Clay. Yeah. Now Clay was a plantation owner and had slaves. But his policies were the American system. And we're going to jump right to this. Oh, I should add, this election then seemed to tell everybody the US wants Texas. Let's get Texas. Now, the president is not inaugurated till March of 1845. Now it's January, but then it was March. And so Congress is going to meet in January. And they decide, hey, let's do Texas now. And they decide to annex Texas. Nowhere does it say you need a treaty. Remember, Jefferson just kind of made that up in 1803. So they call it a joint resolution. It just basically means joint as in both houses of Congress pass a law, then they'll annex Texas. They couldn't get the 2/3 of a vote necessary for annexation. So they just said, we pass a law saying the president can annex Texas when the president is ready. And they got the bill ready at the end of February. And it was the whole plan was for the Democrats. It was Thomas Hart Benton, a Democrat from Missouri, who really pushed this through. His plan was, we'll give this to Polk, like right after he's inaugurated. Here's this, he'll sign it, Polk will annex Texas. That's the plan. So they wanted this bill all ready for Polk. I should add, this is a map from 1850. Pretty darn good map, isn't it? Before I answer your question, do you see this area here? Who controlled this area? What tribe? What's the fierce tribe in here? You remember that fierce tribe in Texas?
But horses,
Somebody said it over here. Comanches, yeah. Yeah.
I'm guessing that they didn't sign this.
Yes, because who's still president? A president who is not elected or not going to be reelected, or any politician, but they're still in office, they're called a lame duck. Kind of a funny term, but meaning, okay, they're not going to be reelected. And so a lame duck, everybody knows you're going to be gone soon. So they kind of disregard you. They disregarded the president. And Tyler is sitting there fuming. He wanted to annex Texas. This bill has passed Congress, and they expect me to wait? No. So just before the inauguration, Tyler signed the bill. So Tyler would be the one to send down to Texas saying that, asking Texas if they want to be annexed, which of course they do. So Tyler jumped the gun. Yes. What's that? Annex means that Texas would join the United States. So annex means it's being joining or being joining American borders. The words wouldn't come out. This happens like Kelly just did this on the ballot, the annex section of it. He doesn't, I live inside of it. But yeah, that's what it means. So the Democrats were furious and Tyler got the last laugh. So at the inauguration of Polk, Texas has already been annexed. Someone got that? Boy, Tyler got him. Did he really? It was, actually the Democrats were quite mad. But that year also, 1845, Andrew Jackson finally died. I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, the guy was shot. He couldn't hardly eat food for the last 10 years of his life. He was born before the American Revolution, went through being orphaned, captured by the British and surviving that, working his way up, 100 duels. He went through as a member of Congress when the Republic was found, or the beginnings of the Republic, Jefferson, hero of war, then president with the Industrial Revolution, democracy, the horrors of Indian removal, nullification and saving the Union. You know, Jackson really does encompass so much good and bad. That's why he's such an important character in American history. And when he died, it was a big deal. Thousands came to his funeral. Now he was, they buried him, but they had a casket by proxy kind of thing. They buried him, they tried to bury him within a day. I think you understand why. You know what embalming is? That wouldn't come about to the Civil War. Make sense? Yeah. So anyway, back to this. He passed away. This very complex man. And he would be asked before he died. Oh, don't forget also the first president to have an assassination attempt. But he was asked in 1844. This is the last picture of Jackson. He still looks ornery as that person. 1844, he was asked, any regrets? Any guesses? So, at his funeral, this was a big deal. And people took the train, they could get by train to Nashville. And that's how much the world had changed. Pretty amazing. And so he had all these speakers come talk at his funeral. It was a big event for democracy. Jackson had died, good or bad? Huh? Actually, yes, there was. Well, Jackson had a parrot. Jackson adored this parrot. Parrots could live for quite a long time. Parrots are great for mimicking languages. You know, us can mimic languages really well. Those European starlings. Huh?
Seals.
Seals?
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
But Jackson taught his parrot to every curse word that Jackson would be parrot. And so Jackson would teach, there'd be like a key word that Jackson would say. And once he would say it, the parrot would start screaming out obscenities. Now, they're all the curse words then. Now, every generation has their own unique and fun curse words, but so some we still use today, yay, and some were just unique for that time. He would teach that parrot to swear. So if Jackson wanted to, get someone out of his office, he would say the word and the parrot would start screaming out obscenities. In Jackson's voice, which had to be really funny. Well, somebody decided that it would be great if they brought this parrot to the funeral. Because he loved this parrot. So the parrot in a cage with the hood, the covering, the hood, and then remove the hood. And the parrot sitting there, you just kind of, okay, it's a parrot. And Thomas Hart Benton was giving one of the eulogies. And somewhere in the eulogy, he unknowingly said the phrase. And the parrot just started screaming obscenities at the funeral. They tried to cover it again, couldn't stop it. They took the parrot out, and you hear the parrot screaming every word that I know none of you have ever heard, but people do swear outside, and they can hear it all the way. And I'm sure Jackson would have enjoyed that part of his funeral. So, with that, there's Jackson's statue that we put right after his death in Lafayette Square. Yes, me trying to be artsy again. You see it? Yeah, the Lincoln Memorial. I tried to get all that back in there. Cannon. Oh, and these are protesters. Okay, so what were the goals of the Polk administration? Oh, one more thing. See the photograph? They would put silver oxide on a piece of glass. That's how they did the first photography. Then through a lens, it would kind of reverse it And for long enough exposure time, at first about 10 seconds, eventually it'd be down to about 2 seconds. It would begin to make an image on that oxide. And then they would extract that image onto paper. But the problem is any imperfections in the glass, like these little bubbles, would come through. So I really like this because this is straight from the negative. You see some of the scratches and everything on that piece of glass. Now, normally they would take that and they would paint over it and then extract that. But I like that picture. You can really see all of it. And yes, someone first noted that his hairstyle in the 1990s, late 1990s, that hairstyle started to be called a mullet. They did not call it a mullet then. When I was your age, there was no such thing as a mullet except it's a fish. You should grow that. I know, me know nothing about, Harry Potter.
It's Harry Potter.
Huh?
You know that Lucius Malfoy, Harry Potter.
That's all, is it really? I have no idea. I don't know nothing about Harry Potter. I know there's a book series. That's all I know. No, I know nothing.
I said, it looks like Lucius Malfoy from Harry
Oh,
Potter.
gave him the Harry Potter part.
Yeah, I know nothing about Harry Potter. I've not seen any movies. I've not read the book. Yes.
So, I'm getting sidetracked. Isn't a mullet,
Yes.
so that's where that came from?
No. We don't know where it came from. Probably the BC books. Yes.
What is it used?
Why I know that? I don't know. Yeah.
What used?
Haircuts.
No. That was like a name.
They were like really popular in the 80s. And they didn't call them that. They just called them, I called them bad haircuts. Okay. But it's cool. I never had them. Lower the tariff. They did lower the tariff. They improved the independent treasury, which would distribute money, AKA kind of that sub-treasury system that Van Buren had. They signed a treaty with Oregon. I'm sorry, with Britain. So what they did is they just extended that 49th parallel from the 1818 line to the sea. And they split Oregon territory. Nobody wanted war. Yes. So it's outside the banking system, but that would be a way outside the banking system, but it would distribute currency to banks and other people, US currency. So the idea of being, it would not be a bank. And there's some really actually pretty good ideas about, but they never implemented it very well. Now we have a bank called the Federal Reserve. It was created in 1913. And he won in California. All four of those things Polk would get. He's one of the most successful presidents in American history. As in what he said he's going to do, he got done. And then he didn't run again. He said, I'm going to get these four things done. Now, I'm not successful. I'm not saying, oh, these are good things or bad things. And how he did it is kind of amazing in California. Duplicitous and dishonest. But that's what happened here. And what that's going to lead to is, of course, a baby. Yes, I found this. You have to look at it now, too. I still cannot believe this. This was at a store in Britain. It's only £7.99. Because it's on sale. I don't want to know what's going on in Britain right now. I found that, so I had to show it to you. I was not going to be alone in seeing that. Remember, I showed you the Slim Jims. Yeah, it's a really good deal. Yes.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yes, you can take a picture of it. You know, okay, it's a little thing to burn trash. So it's a small thing to burn trash. And what do they call it? A baby. I don't want to know. Britain's having problems, but wow, things have gotten bad. All right, so, we're going to jump right to this. The Mexican-American War. Another pretty incredible map from 1846. They were great map makers. Not quite to my cartography skills, but pretty darn good. Oh, we should add, if you name a war and you have two countries that are fighting in the war, right? Two countries, correct? You have Mexican-American War, this is gonna be the Spanish-American War, there's like the Franco-Prussian War. The country that's named first is the loser, normally. So the Spanish-American War, who won? Yeah. And Franco-Prussian War, who won? Prussia, which is going to become Germany. That's the way it is normally. And I should add, so we live in Montana, like you know that. And the two colleges, the two biggest colleges in the state of Montana play their football game, not tomorrow, Saturday. And so that game is properly called the Cat Grizz game, correct? Because you name the winner second and the loser first. Okay, so moving on, right? Yeah, that's correct. Everyone with me on that? No, this means positive. So I enjoy telling that. I used to tell when Mr. Carter used to be across the hall, I'd always make sure to remind him of that. He played there. Okay, so John Slidell was sent down to Mexico City to buy Mexico. Did I say Mexico? California. We're going somewhere. But he also wanted to get the Rio Grande as the border. Remember, there was that border issue. And U.S. citizens bought bonds to Mexico. This is called U.S. citizens had claims to get their money back they loaned to Mexico. And so they said, we'll pay back U.S. citizens. That's what I mean by forgive. It's over $3 million, which then was a lot of money. I know today we carry around $1 million. But back then, that was a lot of money. Now in the U.S. federal government, $3 billion is hardly even an account, not even a rounding error. It's like $1 billion is hardly a rounding error. There's a lot of money floating around. So, and what was Mexico's response to this? Go to hell. No, we're going to get Texas back. Now, Santa Anna had been kicked out because when the U.S. annexed Texas, they ran him out. He's hiding in Spanish Cuba. We're not done with Santa. We're never done with Santa. Is today Thursday?
Oh, yeah, we're about.
So Slidell came back and Polk decided all we can do is provoke a war. For the chapter? You want the one for the Dark Ages? Yeah, that's medieval Europe. I get this out after the test. All right. So he sent General Zachary Taylor. And remember where we stop tomorrow? We'll finish this up tomorrow. Positive good theory of slavery. I'm glad we went through the document. What's the first thing you do when you read a document? Well, thank me. Then look at the document. Whisper to yourself, thank you, Mr. Carter.
Every time.
Yeah, get in the habit of it. Yeah, thank you.
You can write it on the test so they know.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank Mr. Carter for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to,
Do I? Yes. No, I wasn't there.
like, I actually, if you have a class, then teach them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my stuff.
Yeah, in fact, we're thinking about it.
This gets hard to do. You know about.
Yeah, just remind me, okay?
Okay. Do you know about Greater Idaho?
Great.
Greater Idaho? There's this thing going on in the far reaches of Idaho where they want to annex Oregon.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, it's actually not that Idaho, it's more like there's parts of Oregon, like the really conservative part that want to be added.
Yeah, they want to be taken in by it.
Because Idaho is a very far right conservative
Very,
state. Yeah,
very,
kind of like Montana.
yeah, just a little bit.
But yeah, that's I heard about that.
That's-
I mean, there are a lot of yahoos in this world. Yeah. I did hear about that. We'll see you. Goodbye. I'll bring that up. Thank you. You too. I'm always waiting for you to.
I'm so tired.
Huh? Don't be tired. That helps.
It's not you.
Why are you tired?
I was up really last night.
And don't stay up late. I know. Okay, goodbye, goodbye.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I know I'm horrible.
It's a river. One of my last ones. It's like, I was so cold. Yeah, he always like looks at me. Oh, yeah, I like it.
Can you get actually paper?
I
Actually, you don't need one. I don't need the extra copies anymore. So go ahead and write on this, just put the letter right next to the number. Sound good? And look at the crinkly cut. Yeah, let's get it done right now. It won't take it. Ah! Will you tell? You lied to me. Oh, this is transcribing this. Will you tell you lied to me? Oh, this is transcribing. You will lie. Oh, transcribing, you will. Transcribing. Pizza. Cleveland. They progressed. They progressed. How about those stairs? They're going up and down the stairs. You're young and spry. You wrestle. You gotta be in shape. That's pretty much all wrestling. Wrestling is stairs. Go back down. That's what I remember when I was high school playing. I was playing basketball, and the rest would be up there as they be. Yeah, we worked hard. They. Wow. Take out the defense of slavery as a benefit to society. Take out the documents I gave you yesterday. Who doesn't have? You don't have it? Anybody else not have? I think everyone should have it. Oh, I didn't even realize, I must have said to put whole 3-0 punch. I didn't, I don't remember doing it, but that's all right, block out a few words. I figured you could deduce, that's part of, kind of figure it out. All right. Just a sec.